can start and just say you're waiting for me. Hi, I'm just waiting for my wife. She just wants to go use the restroom.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine. I don't know which one I should.
Oh.
You guys can. So how's everything going at home?
Things are going okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, she's doing a little bit better. Still kind of spending a lot of time in her room. You know, but we still, you know, like last week we had like family game night, which was nice, and we all kind of were in the house at the same time for once. I finally was able to get a day off. So that was nice. It was just nice having everybody.
That's great. So yeah, so you know, what we're going to kind of talk about today, I'm going to like to listen to you guys and see how you guys are doing with everything, if there's any questions that you guys have.
Okay.
But also we can kind of go over the type of like therapy I'm using with her. And you know, it's been working with her really, really well. And I'll talk about it more when Lori comes back. But you know, she really has been making huge strides. And I know it's kind of not the pace that we all obviously want it to be, but she's been opening up really well, and I really think that doing that, the workbook and like the journaling, has really been huge for her. So yeah, so we'll just kind of, I'll go through with you guys what, you know, everything kind of stands for.
Okay.
So you guys have a better idea of what exactly the therapy that we're doing, and so that way you guys kind of know what to expect when she's home.
Sorry, sounds good.
Oh no, don't worry about it. That's fine. So I kind of want to start off with like just talking to you guys about like how are you guys doing? Like how has this whole process been for you? Like I know it's been kind of like a little challenging, but.
Well, for me, I just feel like Brenna's changed so much at home. It's really hard. I feel like when I see her, she's not the daughter that we knew for so long. Like I feel like this has really changed her. I don't know how to talk to her. When I try to talk to her, she gets so angry and she gets mad and she goes into her room and then she's depressed, and I just feel like, you know, I got the twins and I'm busy doing all these other things, and I just feel like I don't relate to her. We don't have anything in common anymore. She shuts us out all the time.
Yeah.
And I just can't. It's been really hard being her mom, which is horrible to say, but it's been really hard.
Yeah. And, you know, it's hard when it comes to like very huge traumatic events. And you know, I did talk to her prior to this session. She does feel pretty comfortable talking about, with me talking to you guys about what happened. She didn't really want to like be here for it. She just kind of wants you guys to be able to process it with me first, so you guys feel more comfortable kind of opening up to her about it and being there for her. So I know it's gonna kind of be a lot, but you know, just so you know, anytime that you want to meet with me separately, you know, that's kind of the model of TSCBT. So that's kind of what I've been doing with her, and what that is, it's trauma focused cognitive behavioral therapy. So basically, like the main goal of the model is, you know, it's to be used with children and adolescents and their caregivers. So we do eventually want to include you guys in this a lot, so then, you know, to make sure that we're all on the same page, and that we can work towards the goal of her to healing and being able to live her life more positively. And that's the main goal. So basically, a lot of how we do it is, you know, eventually the more that we meet together, we're kind of focusing on like the parenting skills, on how to really deal with this, with trauma in general, because I know it is a lot to take in, and all three of us, like, we don't really know what Brenna is going through, and our goal here is to kind of get more of an understanding of how to understand what she's going through and how we can approach her in a way that makes her feel comfortable and starting to help her feeling better and not getting those triggers anymore. So that is one of the things that she did want to talk to you guys about, is the triggers that she has that kind of makes her think about the situation that happened. And we can go through, where is it? So we know that it was with her soccer coach, which is why she didn't play soccer anymore and stopped playing soccer, which was pretty big for her because you guys know how much she loves playing soccer and how, you know, her dream was to go to BC to play soccer like Dad did. So that's still like a big goal for her, that she wants to be able to go to BC and be able to play soccer. She's not sure if she's fully ready to play soccer yet, but that's one of her main goals. But
do you think that's realistic at this point?
Yeah.
You think?
Yeah, and I honestly, like I said before, when we met with Brenna, she really has made great strides. This is great. Like every session we've had, it's been something new, and she's trying new things, and she's really open to, you know, trying these new things and trying these, you know, redirecting thoughts and all that. And I know at first it was kind of a little challenging for her, especially when it was just very abrupt when I was kind of saying stop, like anytime the bad thought came, or bad song, if you will. So getting back to those triggers, anytime she sees, I believe she said it was red, we didn't have crayons then, but she said anytime she sees a red Chevy truck, that's what the coach drives, it brings her right back. And anytime she hid away her soccer stuff. It's not, when she sees soccer or talks about soccer, it's not that automatically triggers her, it's like her actual soccer stuff, because that's what she had with her. So just like the smell of her soccer stuff, she tries not to see it as much.
Why don't we just get rid of it? Like burn it. Let's have like a burning big bonfire in the backyard and throw it all in.
And that's something I think would be very beneficial for her. But she did mention that she doesn't want to feel like she's letting him win, that she's getting rid of all of her stuff and tossing in her cleats and saying no more soccer, because she still wants to play.
Get her new soccer. She can get a new number and a new.
Yeah. And that's kind of what we were trying to get to, but at first, I think what she's initially thinking is letting him win, and she thinks it's going to let him win. So what I'm trying to do is kind of redirecting that, and she's blaming a lot of it on herself, that it happened, and she's having a hard time kind of understanding that it's not her fault. So towards the end of the session, we tried talking a bit about that, and she was having a difficult time thinking, like, how can I not think that was my fault, because I went in the truck, like it was my decision to go in there, but she didn't know what was to happen. And I tried explaining that to her. She trusted him. He's been her coach for a very long time, and she's put a lot of trust in him. He's one of the adults that she can confide in, and she always looked up to him because of soccer, and he was going to help her get ready for Division I soccer. So she had a lot of trust in him, and you know, and I tried to explain to her that he took advantage of that trust that she had in him, but she was just having a difficult time accepting that. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we need to work on with her, is helping her to understand that just because she did what she did doesn't necessarily mean that it's her fault. So that's kind of the big hill that, you know, I want to climb with her, is to help her understand that, you know, it's not her fault. So along with her soccer stuff kind of being a trigger, anytime she sees Taco Bell, because this is in the parking lot, that's where she gets another trigger. So once she sees it, she like automatically goes right to it, and that's where we kind of she kind of did get a little upset talking about the trigger, so we kind of did the deep breathing and helped her through that process. So this is the area that we're kind of starting to focus on now, is how do we redirect those triggers. So we did talk about, and I gave her some homework assignments on how she wants to share her story, and eventually she doesn't want to go in full detail, because she doesn't want you guys to get upset or, worry more, but she wants to kind of eventually open up to you guys and talk to you about, what happened and how she kind of perceives everything. So I know, like, the one thing that, obviously being parents, you want to protect her, you want to obviously help her the best way that you can, but I think the best way to help her right now is just letting her talk. You don't really even have to say anything at the moment. You can just be there for her. She wants, she actually said it somewhere in here, she wants to be loved, and she wants she wants to be hugged. She wants that physical, attention, and she wants to know that everything's going to be okay, and she just wants to hear that from you guys, and she doesn't want, to be questioned over and over and over again about everything that happened. She just simply wants you guys just to attend and just listen to what she needs to say, and just simply just sit there and be there with her.
Yeah, that's hard.
Which I know it's
like, I want to know, I don't know, I feel like I'm out of the loop.
I know.
And she doesn't want to talk about it with us, she doesn't want to share information with us, and part of me understands that, and I know I have to respect that. It's just really hard. It's a really hard thing to do as a parent.
And I feel, I just feel guilty that I'm not really around all that much too. I feel like I kind of have been absent from this whole situation, and really not intentionally.
Right.
It's just,
and I know it's
my
hard
job.
to, after everything happened, it's hard to kind of, even for ourselves, when we hear about this trauma, like, it's hard for us to process it in our mind, because obviously we're thinking, like, okay, you know what, this happened, and now we're going to move forward, we're going to do this, this, and this, and that. But we have to take a step back and understand that, she's still a teenager, and she's still learning how to process emotions and learning how to...
I know, I just feel like as her mom, I'm supposed to be the one who's teaching her that. She's withdrawn so much from me, that, from both of us really, from the whole family, that it doesn't feel good not to be able to be the teacher.
Right. And I think I know she wants to get to the point where she can go to you guys again, but she kept saying that she just doesn't want you guys to worry, and she doesn't want you guys to feel worse. She wants to make sure that everyone's okay, but the thing that's tough is she's not worrying about herself and her needs, and that's where I kind of want to continue working on next, is helping her to understand that she's the one that went through this trauma, and she needs to focus on her needs right now. She wants to do it for you guys too, which is great, but kind of like what we talked about with her before, like about how she needs to focus on her needs and focus on herself first before she focuses on other people.
Well, what concerns me is that this kind of idea that, I mean, I get, she wants to be happy for us, but my concern is that she is going to try to put on like a show for us, because she wants us to be satisfied and appeased, and she wants us to, like, feel as though everything's fine. So I just kind of have a feeling that she might get into the habit of, like, pretending that everything's fine and giving off that impression when she's really not, just so that it can kind of appease us, and I think that's my biggest concern.
Yeah, and I'm actually right there with you. It was after the session that we had, all four of us together, I kind of saw that a little bit more, that some of it could be that she's just faking it until she makes it, and I think that's where we all need to start working together to kind of help have her not do that, which I know, like, and we have to understand that, it's going to be at her own pace, it's going to be at her own time, which is still kind of a struggle, but we have to just keep reminding ourselves that, she does need to go at her pace, and when she's ready, she will go up to you guys. Once she's ready.
How do you know? How do you know she'll do that? I just feel like what we're reinforcing is not coming to us right now. I feel like we're supporting her going to you or to other people, or to looking into her own self to find the answers, which in some ways I think is very strengthening her own identity, but at the same time I feel like it's also reinforcing her not coming to us as her parent.
Well, and that's kind of like the purpose of this whole model, is that, I meet with her and then I meet with you guys and we all meet together to kind of find a common ground, and that's kind of what I want to end up working on her with, because I'm not going to see her forever.
So you're going to tell her that she needs to come to us?
Eventually. But, this whole model isn't meant to last forever. This whole model is, we meet for a certain amount of time, not for long. I think, I meet with her a certain amount of times, I meet with you guys a certain amount of times, and eventually we get to a point where she no longer needs me. And that's the goal of this model, is to make sure that, she's aware that I won't be there for her, and that she eventually needs to find a way to open up to you guys and eventually go to you guys. So that is the goal, is to eventually have her feel comfortable enough and ready to open up to you guys about what happened.
I guess I'm confused, because I feel like last week when we were here, you were saying that the goal was for her to sort of change some of her thought process.
Well, yes,
and then change the behavior. So it's the
yes.
thoughts, and then you talked about feelings, and you talked about behavior, and there was a triangle, and so I thought that was the goal, is for her to remap the way
yes, for her individually, that's her goal. But overall, working with you guys too, she's going to eventually not talk to me about it anymore, but to talk to you guys about it.
Okay.
So it's just it's part of the process. I know it's kind of,
I just feel like she's still a kid. Just tell her that's what she has to do. I don't know.
Well, and what is her what is she under the impression, what's she gonna get out of this? All this work that you're doing, what is her sense that she's going to get out of it? Is she aware of what her goals are, and what?
Yes, and we talked about that.
Mhm. What is kind of making her buy into it, I guess, is my question. What.
Well, she wants to be able to not have those triggers anymore. She wants to get back to the life that she had before. She wants to get back to that normal life that she had, where she was able to open up to you guys how she used to, and how, she was confident, and she wants to get to that point. The last session she talked about how she was jealous of her old life before this traumatic event happened. So that's kind of what's driving her, is she wants to get back to that point. She wants to be able to feel, safe. And that's another thing that we did too. We have a circle of safety where she knows who she can go to. And, she put you guys, she put her best friend, Tori, and she has her Uncle John, and Aunt Margaret, her grandmother and her grandfather. So she knows that she has you guys to go to. But right now, she wants to be, she wants to get to that point where she's stable and she's able to alter her negative thoughts and feelings and change her actions so they turn into positive thoughts and feelings. So she wants to get to that place first before, she opens up to you guys more about it. She wants to feel confident and strong in her feelings and thoughts, if that makes any sense. So she wants to get to that point, and that's what's driving her, towards the future. And she wants to eventually, so we kind of talked about, she drew out what her future kind of holds, and she wants to get into BC and graduate from there. She wants to be able to play soccer again without thinking about, what had happened. Eventually she wants to get into a stable relationship and someday have kids. She said that she wants to have at least one meal from Taco Bell and not get grossed out and throw up from it. And she wants to be able to see a red Chevy and just not care and keep going past it and not have that trigger that brings her to anxiety and fear and her being scared. She wants her heart to be whole again, and right now that's kind of what's driving her. She wants to get back to that healthy state of mind that she was in before.
And I think we all want that. We want that, our friends want that, the twins want that, I guess. How long do you see this taking? I know I asked that last week and you didn't really know. I just feel like.
Well,
I mean, I
feel
know
like
she's got to go at her own pace. It's kind of hard to put a time
it's
on it.
No, I want, this needs to happen
so
faster.
if this helps,
I know, but
typically this type of model is, we want it to be short term. So we want it to have at least 12 to 18 sessions, and hopefully
18 sessions?
12 to 18. And we've already done 6.
That's like
We've already
5 months.
We've already done 6 though.
Okay.
Keep that in mind. And eventually, since we've kind of already gotten up to 6 sessions, and that's not even just me and her meeting. That's me meeting with you guys too. So that's all included.
Okay.
So.
Could you meet like more times a week? I just feel like.
But you need to remember.
6 months is a long time out of her life.
Yes, and I understand where you're coming from, but you need to take a step back and just understand that this was a very, very traumatic event that she went through. She confided in someone that took advantage of that. So she's having a hard time trusting those who she once had trust in. Not saying that she's lost trust in you guys, but she's just very hesitant on, all the people that she holds so much trust in. She doesn't want, the same situation, not that it would be the same situation, but she just doesn't want to be taken advantage of like she did before. So we need to, all kind of work together and understand that, we want this to be done as soon as possible, but we want to make sure it's at a pace that she's ready and that she's comfortable in doing. And I know it's frustrating. I know that you are thinking that, she's having all these positive thoughts already, so why isn't it already starting to change? It's going to be a process, and, the thing that we need to make sure is, in sessions, I want to make sure that she's being consistent with everything she's doing. And at home, I kind of want you guys to be that role where you're making sure that she's also being consistent in what her homework assignments are, which she's been really doing well with doing her homework assignments and bringing them back. But, and that's why, I think with this model, we like to have the parents involved because, I'm not with her all week. You guys are. I only see her about an hour to an hour and a half once a week. So I don't see what you guys see. So I just want to make sure, that's why, we like to involve you guys. So we want to make sure we're all on the same page and we know what her goals are and what we can do to help her redirect those negative emotions and turn them into positive ones. So, I know 12 to 18 sessions kind of sound like a long time, but I mean, if you think about it in the long run, we're getting closer and closer to that point where she's getting ready to open up to you guys. It's just, with this event that happened in her life, she's just having a hard time processing who she can trust and who she can confide in, and making sure that this, situation doesn't happen again. But
how can we ever be sure that it won't happen again? That's my biggest
fear.
Well,
and I know that's
like I get like she's learning the skills here to manage everything, but I'm just my biggest concern, and I know that this isn't something that can be changed in therapy, but it really just keeps me up at night when I just think about how, the fact that this happened. I feel like the world isn't a safe place anymore. Like I can't trust that, that I can't trust that it won't happen again, and that's something I've been struggling with. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, and I know, and that's why, we kind of built, towards the end we started talking about a safety plan. We talked about who she can call, so she always has this, and she wrote everyone's numbers down so she can automatically go to it right away. And she's obviously probably not going to have this workbook with her every day of her life, but I mean, I'm sure she memorizes your numbers, has them in her phone, so she knows who she can call. But, we kind of kept going through, talking about being safe and how, she can take care of herself. And you know what, when we did even talk about, at one point, we talked about, doing like a self-defense class, and she even brought up doing it with you guys, if that's something you guys would be open to. And, I think she really wants to get involved in helping those, since the situation happened, she wants to help those people who have gone through this too, and she wants to try to because you know how she is, she wants to give back. That's just how she is, and she cares about other people more than herself, which is another, like we talked about already, something that we want to work through with her too. But she wants to, kind of do a self-defense class, so she is able to defend for herself, and so then that kind of like settles ease in our minds, so we know that, she is going to be safe, and obviously we can't predict what's going to happen in the future. That's just the hard part to kind of wrap our heads around, but, so I can't really give you a specific answer on that, but, I think it would be great if you guys would get into like a self-defense class together, and I think that would be something that she would really love to do with you guys, and she mentioned it before. So that could be something that you guys talk about with her, and because she's already mentioned that she's already open to it. So if that kind of helps a little bit to ease your mind. I know it's a really traumatic event, so I know, it's even gonna for us take some time to process through it as well, but like I said, she has been making huge strides, and realistically, obviously I don't want to set your hopes up, but I can see it ending in 12 sessions because of the progress that she's made, but obviously I can't guarantee that, because you never know if a trigger is going to really overwhelm her to the point where she has a hard time using the skills that we've learned. You never know, but like I said, she has great goals, and she's really looking towards like a very hopeful future, and I know she eventually wants to share that with you guys. So do you guys have like any questions, or how you guys feeling?
So what do you think would be the most supportive thing that we could do right now to get to that 12-week point?
So right now, what I would say is just keep being there for her and supporting her. I know there are times where she will just go right to her room, but if you guys are home and you have like any work that you have to do at home, you could kind of ask her like, hey, I know you have some homework to do you want to come sit out with me at the table, we can do stuff together. Do like things with her that doesn't really have a lot of talking involved at first, kind of like help, because it will kind of, like I said, it's not that she doesn't trust you guys, she trusts you guys, but she kind of like rebuilding the trust even more, if that makes sense. Like, kind of, and she loves to run, so I don't know if either of you guys run, or maybe go on a run with her when you guys go to your cabin in the woods, kick the ball around with her outside, do things that don't require as much talking, and kind of leave it for her to be ready to talk to you guys. It won't happen right away, but the more you guys do things together, eventually she's going to want to open up.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I just think it's a lot easier said than done. I think it sounds really nice to be, thinking about, being engaged with her like that, but I just don't see her like wanting to. But
it's
I mean,
just
it's worth
sad.
a try.
Like it makes me, the whole thing makes me sad that she went through this, that I feel like we can't help her, I feel like she needs to do it on her own, she needs to figure it out, is what I'm hearing. Like as much as we want her to feel better about it, she needs to feel better about it before she's gonna feel better about it.
Right, yeah.
But I just, the whole thing just, it makes me feel like we screwed up somehow, we trusted him, and we let her trust him, like I don't know, like the whole thing just is hard for me to process.
No, I'm right there with you. No, I don't know. I would love to, constantly, and this is something I'm kind of dealing with on my own, but, I would love to be able to go back in time and just kind of figure out, maybe there were warning signs, with him. Maybe there was something that wasn't right that maybe I missed. And I don't know, maybe something, the night that it happened, I don't know, maybe if I was, home and not at work, and maybe if, you know, like, you know how we all used to go out to dinner, like, on Friday nights and stuff, like, but ever since I started this new job, I've been working really late. I don't know, if we were all out to dinner that night, you know, it wouldn't have happened. Like, that's just stuff that, you know, I kind of think about. Like, if I wasn't at work, if I wasn't all caught up in these other things, like, maybe this could have been prevented. And, you know, it's our job as her parents to protect her. And yeah, like she's saying, I just feel like we failed in a sense. Like, but I mean, I know what you're saying. I think this stuff can be really helpful somewhere down the line, but I think that we just need to work out our kind of guilt a little bit and just our overall sadness about the whole thing. Like, I think all this stuff is really positive, and I'm hopeful about it, but it's a totally separate thing in terms of like kind of what we've been facing for a while. Just this kind of, you know, why, and you know, we just want everything back to normal. Period.
And you know, I'm pretty hopeful that everything will get to that point where it's normal and it's back to the way things used to be. And I know, you know, as you guys continue to spend time with her and work with her, I think, you know, it will happen. And I know it's hard, you know, to not think about the past, and it's hard not to think about the things that you could have done. But now moving forward, think about what things you can do to, in a way, I guess, prevent anything like that from happening again. And kind of thinking about what are things, you know, that you can do for the whole family to help keep it together. And, you know, and I think it's great that, you know, and Brenna really loved talking about how you guys used to do things on Fridays, and how you guys went to the movies, went out to dinner. She loved that, and she thought, you know, going to the movies was one of the things that was so great because, you know, you guys were spending that time together, and that's something that I know she really enjoyed. So maybe starting something like that again. You know, it doesn't have to be on Friday, because I know it's your job, it's hard, but maybe even like a Sunday family dinner night, or, you know, something like that once a week. And then even for both of you to kind of spend that time individually alone together. You know, Mom, you guys can go, like, either go shopping, or even just go out to lunch together, get your nails done, and then Dad, you guys can play soccer, because I know she said you used to play soccer too, and you can go outside, kick the ball, just try to spend that one-on-one time, even if it's just for like an hour, even if it's for like a half an hour a week or something, because I know your schedule is so busy, but just trying to, you know, at least spend that one-on-one time with her, because I think that's what she really needs right now. And I think the more consistent that you guys do that, I think, you know, it's more likely that she'll open up to you guys a lot sooner than we think. So I think, you know, that can be kind of you guys' goals for her right now. And then just, you know, as much as you want to ask the questions, I would just wait until she's ready to kind of talk about it. Does that sound like something you guys can do right now?
Yeah.
And then eventually, you know, once we meet with her again, with all four of us, we can kind of talk more about, you know, how she's handling everything and how everything's been working, and kind of reevaluate our goals. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
That sounds really good, yeah. I can live with that for right now.
Okay. Now, you know, I know you guys are kind of feeling guilty and sad, so what, you know, along with me kind of trying to help her, I want to help you guys too get past this and process through it too. So what are things that you guys have been doing for your own self-care?
To be honest, I don't know if you would call it self-care, but for me, and you know, this is something that's come up with us too, and it's caused a little bit of strain, but, you know, the demanding nature of my job does kind of distract me from a lot of the things that go on, and I know that sounds really bad. It's not to say that I don't want to be included in, like, you know, in anything like with the family or anything like that, and that's honestly one of the reasons why I always go back to that, you know, what happened to Brenna, and you know, and I feel like, oh, what did I do? Is it because I'm not as, like, involved, I'm not home as much, but being at work does kind of, you know, distracts me from what happened. I don't really need to think about it, because I'm able to just be so caught up in like what I'm doing, and you know, I have a lot of people relying on me over at my job, but I know that my family relies on me too. So you know, I know I need to find that balance, but like for me, working hard and stuff is just like something that's kind of helped a little bit, helped me cope, because I just don't have to think about it as much.
Yeah. But then, like, so at times, so I know you said that you are kind of awake at night thinking about it. So
Mhm.
how do you cope with it then? Like, what helps you to not?
I mean, I have to take sleeping pills, so, you know, that knock me out. If I'm up tossing and turning, I just pop an Ambien and I'm out, so that way I don't have to, you know, I wake up every morning, you know, I go to the gym before work, so that helps a little bit.
Okay.
Like, I exercise, you know, and I'm also taking care of, you know, my father right now, who's, you know, ill. So it's just, and not that, I mean, that's obviously not like a self-care thing, but but I'm, you know, sort of, that's also kind of a distraction from everything, so I'm able to kind of focus on that if I want to get away a little bit from all those thoughts about, you know, all that other stuff.
Yeah. And you know, like, I know, like, it's sometimes the deep breathing thing that we kind of went through seems kind of a little silly, but that's something that you know that you guys can do together too. Either before you guys are getting ready for bed, to help kind of get your body relaxed. Because she did enjoy that when I read it over for her, and she eventually said that she wanted to get you guys involved in it too, but at first she was like, it's kind of awkward. She's like, I really don't want to like go up to my parents and be like, hey, can you read this for me while I'm like having a breakdown right now, like. So she eventually wants to like get involved with that with you guys, and because she knows that it's really weighing you guys down too, and she doesn't want you guys to be stressed. She wants you guys to be able to kind of overcome this too. So that's another thing that you guys can try together, all together as a family before bed. Like if you do that one little bedtime routine thing, and even get the twins involved too, and make it like a silly game. That's another thing that you guys can do together as a family, and making her kind of feel connected again, and helping her to feel comfortable. And how about you, Lori? How have you been what's been helping you to kind of cope, if anything, right now?
So I'm just between work and the kids and the house, like I know it sounds horrible, but I don't really even have time to think about it. Like I'm just going through the motions and doing the next thing, and the twins are still really little, and they're twins, and so they're busy,
right, yeah.
and you know, I spend a lot of my energy just maintaining life, really. I'm not really coping. I wouldn't say I'm coping or even dealing with it.
Yeah.
I'm just going through the motions, and I'm making sure that, you know, the house is still a house, and that the kids are still in school, and that they're doing well, and that my job is still my job, and I just go through the steps.
And has that been kind of helping, or is it?
I mean, I haven't collapsed yet, so I guess that's a good thing,
yeah,
right?
That's a very good sign.
I don't know, like it's just, it is what it is, and
yeah.
I don't see it changing, you know. He works a lot, I work, and the house is busy, and we have sports, and we have activities, and we have school, and I gotta get her to therapy, and I gotta get the kids to their stuff, and
Not an
it's
easy
just what it
thing.
is.
Yeah. Just understandable, you know, a lot has happened. You know, now it's just kind of just working through it and working together. You know, not in the way that, you know, we kind of want to, but I'm happy that you guys are recognizing that, you know, this is in her own little, her kind of process of dealing with it, and you guys are being really great about, you know, helping her as much as you can, which is great. So do you guys have any other questions for me, or anything that, you know, you need help, any tips, or anything?
No, I think we're good. I think continuing to come and understand where she's at and what we can do next is helpful.
You know, it's a long road ahead, but I mean, you know, it's all a work in progress. It's,
Yeah.
you know, you just gotta keep trying. I feel like this is, you know, I feel like we're always gonna need this. I don't think this is ever gonna, like, go away necessarily, but I think if we just kinda stick together as a family and just be consistent, like keeping up with, meeting with you and
Yeah.
getting other forms of therapy later in life, like if that's what it takes, then I'm willing to do it, just to kinda keep us, hold us together, you know, so.
That's great. But yeah, so what we'll do next is, you know, we'll set up another time for all four of us to meet again. So we can, you know, make sure that we're still all on the same page and see where Brenna's at right now. And kind of just go from there. We'll reevaluate her goals and our goals. You know, we're getting closer, and I know it's tough right now, but just think of, you know, the more consistent we are with helping her, you know, the closer we're gonna get to that finish line. And there's a light at the end of the tunnel. It's there, and you know, she recognizes it. She knows that it's there, and she's very hopeful and very positive. So that's, you know, what we like to see, especially with this type of model, that she is recognizing those negative thoughts and feelings and redirecting them, you know. And hopefully, you know, by the end of this whole thing, you know, she'll be able to, you know, skip over those triggers that, you know, really impact what she's going through. But yes, you know, I think this was a very great session.
I appreciate everything you're doing for Brenna and for us. It's very, you know.
And you know, anytime, like, I know things get crazy during the week and you need some guidance or something, I will leave my card with you guys, and you guys can call me or email me at any time. And you know, if you guys are really stuck on something, you know, I'm here to help. So even though, you know, we meet once a week, and you can either wait until you come meet with me or call, whichever one, you know, you need.
Okay,
Great.
that sounds
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Bye.
Sweet.